We have people that come to our events with very serious health conditions. We have people that have come to our events because of post-traumatic stress and childhood traumas or traumas from battle or war. We have people that want new jobs, new relationships, new careers, new opportunities. Some people just want a mystical experience. Some people just want to understand how to create a better life for themselves.
Hello guys, today we have Dispenza with us and he will try to explain that we all are equal. We all have the same power. If anyone managed to achieve wealth, health and happiness, so can you. It makes sense, doesn't it? We all have the same tools, we all look alike and we all are electromagnetic beings. We literally attract things and circumstances every second in our life. Dispenza will explain how all of this actually works and what to do to be better at attracting things you really want. If you are a fan of Dispenza's work, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button, otherwise you might miss some great videos. Enjoy!
So we have people at all different stages, but I really don't care. Because whatever it is that is your vision, you're just going to have to be passionate enough to invest your attention and your energy into that future over and over again, so all of a sudden you start seeing feedback in your life. So you gather a community of people, 750 people, 1,000 people, 1,500 people, whatever it is.
But there's a good critical mass number for you. I mean, you find you get some great results when you get into the four figures.
Yeah, but I've seen it in small events. We run private retreats at times for only 100 people, and it's the same. It's just that what I want to do is dovetail all those new sciences and make it so simple and reason with people, pure reason, to get them to the point that if they begin to make measurable changes, they should begin to see results. And in the beginning, I can tell you that first day or 2 days at an event, there's pushback. Because everybody will say, yeah, I want this, I want that, but we step outside your comfort zone. You learn more about yourself and about others when they're outside their comfort zone. So I push them outside the comfort zone.
How?
Oh, we do all kinds of things. I mean, most people want to sit in a meditation for 10 minutes, but if we're going deep, that meditation is going to go a little longer than where you normally go, because right on the other side of your fear is courage. Right on the other side of your pain is freedom. It's the same energy. It's just trapped in the body. So we set up the conditions to push people a little further than where they normally go, and once they surrender, all of a sudden, more and more people, their energy starts to change, and then all of a sudden, they start connecting with others, and by the second or third day, it's when the miraculous starts to happen. Well, I mean, I never planned on doing any of this. I just never planned on doing any of this. But after my injury, and I started studying spontaneous remissions and looking to see if other people had a similar experience as me.
And definition of a spontaneous remission is?
You're treating conventionally or unconventionally, and you're staying the same or you're getting worse, and all of a sudden you get better. And I wanted to know what the cause was that produced that effect. And spontaneous remission is a safe phrase for the medical world, because they don't want to correlate it with any indicator, especially if it happens outside of the current belief. So when I studied spontaneous remissions, I traveled to 17 different countries and started asking some really important questions that people had breakthroughs and healed. And I wrote a book about it, and then when I realized what the common things were, I thought, well, if it had worked on sick people, it should work on well people. And so we started teaching seminars and events. So fast forward now, when we started seeing people in our events start healing in a weekend workshop, like tumors shrinking by 40%, hearing coming back. I mean, crazy stuff that you just, for me, I could go with it, but I was like, they got to be signaling genes in order to do this. So then I thought, okay, let's measure. So I gathered a group of scientists and researchers, and we started doing these advanced workshops. And And, we measured everything. We measured brainwaves. We've measured HRV, heart rate monitors. We've measured the energy of the room, the energy around people's bodies, the energy centers of their bodies. We've measured immune response. We've measured neurotransmitters. We've measured gene expression, gene regulation. We've measured telomere lengths. And in every single experiment that we've done around measuring our students in these 4.5-day events, what we call advanced workshops, we made history. Because we started seeing things that were just uncommon. So
That even surprised you.
well, this is where it gets weird. So because I said, I understand that, I can see how that could happen. But then I realized that when we were doing 4-day events, like on that Saturday or Sunday when the event was ending, I was like, my goodness, everybody is totally broken through. The energy is amazing. People are super free. What if I had them for 3 more days? So I changed the whole model this year, and now all the weekend workshops are on an online course. They're called progressive workshops. I don't teach the 4-day advanced workshops. I teach the week-long advanced workshops. So now we've done 2 advanced week-long advances. And people are standing in front of a camera. I didn't even see these people. Start talking about their disease or their condition, and in one instant, in those events, people stepping out of wheelchairs. We had 3 people in our last week long step out of a wheelchair. Now, I was very, very surprised in witnessing this. People, that came with crutches and, 2 crutches, or walking without crutches with peripheral neuropathy where they couldn't feel their feet, spinal cord injuries. It just turned into this insane, it was miraculous. And when I asked at the end of the event, how many people have had a healing or change in their health condition, I thought maybe I would see in our second event, a group of 850 people, I thought maybe we'd see 20. It was 150 people that stood up. And we started passing the mic around, and stories were outstanding. I mean, some latent systems must have been switching on in these people's bodies, because they walked out of there completely different than when they arrived. Now, half of it is getting people past that point. The other half is just the fact that as the energy starts to change, every time you react, you draw from an invisible field of energy surrounding your body, and you turn it into chemistry. And the vital field of energy that's being emitted from your body shrinks a little bit. Keep reacting every single day because of some threat in your external environment, real or imagined. You keep doing that, you draw more and more energy from the field, and you have no vital energy for growth and repair. In fact, you feel like you're more like matter and less like energy, more like particle and less like wave. And when we're driven by the hormones of stress, which is about 70% of the time for most people, we force outcomes. We control outcomes. We try to predict outcomes. We fight for outcomes. We manipulate outcomes because we're matter trying to change matter. And there's only a certain amount of things you can do, right? You compete, you do all those things. But when you begin to open your heart and you begin to regulate an elevated emotion.
That sounds like my life as a banker, by the way.
Yeah, for a lot of people. So when people start to open their heart and they start creating an elevated state, and you can train people how to do this, and we measure it, the heart begins to beat in a more coherent way. It begins to produce a measurable magnetic field, 2 to 3 meters wide. That's frequency, that's energy, and all frequency carries information. So now the person lays the intent, the thought on that frequency. And the more elevated the emotion, it makes sense that that thought can only be carried by an emotion that's equal to that thought. In other words, you can't feel unworthy and have the thought of abundance. That energy, or suffering, that thought can't be carried on that energy. It's got to be carried by an elevated state. So, as you're sitting next to a person who's breaking free and opening their heart and giving up guilt for joy, giving up fear for courage, whatever it is, and they're regulating those states, and I'm sitting next to you, and our fields begin to interfere, all of a sudden, if you're coherent and I'm coherent, we're going to create a bigger wave. The higher the amplitude, the higher the energy in the room. So you have 750 or 850 or 1,000 people doing this, there comes a critical mass moment where I just have to get out of the way. because now I'm no longer, it's already happening. There's a momentum that's going. And so at the last two advanced week-longs, we do what's called coherence healing. I talk a lot about the research that was done out of Yale University about the field and biological systems. And you set a person down, they're laying there, and you have, we call it the cage. You put 8 people around them, 3 on this side, 3 on this side, head and feet. And they begin to raise their energy, and they get beyond themselves. They connect to the field. In other words,
it's an important part.
That's a very important part. You can't be thinking, my back hurts or my knees hurt, because if you're doing that, you're not there. You can't be thinking, how long is this going to go? If you're thinking about time, you're still in 3-dimensional reality. If you're thinking, am I doing this right or am I doing it wrong? You still haven't gotten beyond your analytical mind. But if people have been crossing the river of change for 5 days and we start doing the coherence healing towards the end, and all of a sudden they know how to put their attention on that field beyond their hands, they know how to open their heart, they know how to get beyond themselves. And I'm standing on the stage and I'm watching people laying on the floor without being touched. Their bodies are convulsing. Nothing's touching the ground but the back of the person's head and their heels. They're in an arch like this. And the people are just sitting there, they're unaware of it. And that's energy affecting matter. Change the field, you change matter. And I'm witnessing this in the last 2 events, and people who had broken necks and walking with canes getting up afterwards and saying, I have no idea what just happened, but I've never felt that amount of love move through every cell of my body. That's what I want to be the new norm. That's what I want to be common. And it just takes getting beyond yourself and then directing your attention in the right way, and it becomes a skill. And we've got enough measurements now to know that you can make it a skill. Well, here's the interesting thing. This will appeal to your engineering mind, and I have an older son that's got a master's in engineering, and we go back and forth all the time. It's hard to measure energy. What you can measure is the effects. It's better to measure the effects of a shift in energy or a shift in consciousness, and you can measure the downward causation of that. And God, after looking at so many brain scans, I can tell you that the moment you get beyond yourself, the moment you disconnect from your identity, you're not a male, you're not American, you're not an engineer, you're not a dad, you're not an athlete, you're not a name, you get beyond all of those things. That's the moment you begin to connect to a greater field of information. Now, once you're there, once you're nobody, no one, nothing, nowhere, and no time, you're pure consciousness. Now you're ready to connect to the unified field. And when you begin to pay attention to it, when you begin to stay present with it, when you begin to surrender to it, experience it moment after moment after moment, every time you interact with it and experience it, you're laying down circuitry in your brain. Why is that important? Because the next time you do it, you have the circuits in place to perceive more of it. And if you pay attention and you unfold deeper into it, you'll experience more of it, which means you'll lay down more circuits. And all of a sudden, as you begin to connect to the unified field, you're connecting to a field of information and energy.